before we get on to the more formal business of the AGM. And throughout the event today, there'll be opportunities to ask questions. And what we'll do is we'll look for the right points in time to answer those, either in the agenda of the AGM or sooner if the right moment presents itself. So I want to just start by sort of putting a bit more context around where I think we are in following on from what's happened in the last year. So I think the last year has still continued to present significant challenges around COVID. And whilst in the UK we've been getting back to sort of a new normality, there's still quite stark contrasts particularly between developed and developing nations. And you can see a real tension that exists between countries trying to pursue their own sort of national interests and what we see as sort of broader kind of global interests or things that are in the best interest of humanity. And you saw this really play out again at the recent sort of COP26 summit in Glasgow, that tension that exists where nations have their own agendas. And I really hope that as we progress and as we sort of come out of COVID, there's a lot of lessons to be learned, and there's a lot of opportunity for us to collaborate globally in a more effective way. And I think wherever you're joining from around the world, I hope you're all keeping safe and doing well. Now, I'm not going to talk too much longer, but whilst I was pulling together Geoff's introduction for tonight, I realised that reading out the list of achievements was going to take up most of the time that we had allocated. So what I wanted to share is just a really quick story. So I heard Geoff speak about 10 years ago at a National Union of Students Scotland conference, so full of lots of very opinionated student politicians. And I remember the silence that was in the room while Geoff was speaking. I don't think anyone really had their phones out as well, which I think is a mark of incredible respect, especially at an event like that. So I'm very excited that Geoff has agreed to come along today. And I suppose without further ado, I'll hand over to you, Geoff, and the floor is yours.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Mike, for that. What did I do today? I think I had a meeting with a housing association of which I'm on the board for old people or older people. I also, in fact, spoke to another group of people this morning in terms of about equality. And just as I was about to join you, a Muslim group asked me to say a few words about Islamophobia. And therefore we have a society that we live in where in fact people are prejudiced against, because they're old, because in fact of religion, and primarily also in our society, we have people being prejudiced against because of their race. Now, this is something I've been dealing with over the last 2 years, ever since the death of George Floyd. And this concerns us all because that terrible event has had, in my time in Britain from 1955, it has probably had one of the largest impacts on the world in terms of people realizing that, we cannot continue to treat people like that because of this word race. And I will put it to you now. I would like you to, within a few seconds, just examine yourself. I'm going to say, think of it and and tell yourself why you think I'm a different race from you. Why I am a different race from you. And if you can't do it within a few seconds, this is the frightening aspect of that, what I just asked you. Because race as a word has destroyed the lives of millions of people, but yet we can't define the difference. And why? This has been the case. And one of the things I've said is that we then have to look at the origins. As people in the business of academia, that, we really have to look and say, well, why can't we define this quickly? And if we look back, I'm saying that the beginnings, I may be quite wrong in this, in terms of the academic beginnings, it started with David Hume. And David Hume got up one morning in about 1748 and said Negroes were inferior to whites. And that was taken up by Kant, the other philosopher, and they arrived at the Negro race is inferior to the white race. And believe it or not, I think that's the view that killed Floyd. And that's the view that just caused the conviction of 3 men in America for killing a Black man who was just running, getting some exercise. And I heard his mother tonight, and she said she never thought this day would come. This day would come when people are convicted for killing her son. And therefore, the work I do is related to trying to change attitudes about this matter of race. And I believe that education in schools, education about race, its origins, and that it's an invention. And I think that education will help to change attitudes and give us a world where we do not judge people on the color of their skins or on their religion or their age or gender or disability. And just for the second part, because I've been given about 10 minutes, what I would like to say is my links, a little bit about my links with the Heriot Ward. Now, I just talked about race, and it's very important that because in 1964, I managed to get myself an honours degree in botany after great difficulties. And this is at Leicester University. And I went back to London, I couldn't get a job. I got a job peeling potatoes with an honours degree in botany, which is fair enough. Botany, peeling potatoes, there is a link. However, I had 2 interviews, one with a very famous politician, and he told me to go home and grow bananas. And I did point out to him it's difficult to grow bananas in London. The other interview was in Edinburgh with Professor Anna MacLeod, a lovely woman who I didn't know of. And she interviewed me and took me to do a PhD. And she took me not only on the basis of my qualification, but in fact, the difficulties I've been through in my life. I did a PhD with her, and I got my PhD in 1967. I went back to Surrey in England, did research in a research institute, was lucky to use my research from the Heriot Ward to develop a process called barley abrasion. And if you type in on your phone's barley abrasion, you will see the science and the technology which allowed the brewers to make themselves quite a bit of money, speeding up the malting process. The point is, it's interesting that a cook in Edinburgh actually based a recipe on a sweet, a pudding, and he called it sweet abrasion, and he won on the, I think it's one of these programs, the Great British Menu. However, while I was at the Heriot Ward, I the brewing department was in some difficulty. And I went to the distillers, and a wonderful man called Ronnie Martin listened to me. And he managed to get us, for the Heriot Watt, £1 million given by the Scotch Whisky Association in the late 1980s. And that helped to set up the International Centre for Brewing and Distilling, which we have today, which produced brewers such as Stewart Brewing in Edinburgh and one of the owners of Brewdog. So again, what I'm trying to say here is that my life is an example of where, what Robert Burns says, you know, the goodness that mitigates woe. And it's the goodness of people that's helped me to arrive where I am today as Chancellor of the University, which is a great honor for me. And I'm so pleased that Professor Anna MacLeod, there's a hall of residence named after her today. And, you know, I've traveled all over the world, and a lovely little story is when I went to Nigeria to help Guinness in terms of some problems they had in Nigeria. And when we sorted it out, the local chief invited me to dinner. And at the end of the dinner, he gave me a present and told me that, you know, he appreciated what we'd done. And when I was driving back to Lagos, the car was stopped by two young soldiers, you know, with guns. And they stopped the car and they asked me where I was from. And I said, Jamaica. And there was a silence in the dark in the middle of Nigeria. These two young boys went to the back of the car, spoke in their language, and then they came back. And the windows were open on either side at the back of the car where I sat. And in unison, they stuck their heads through the window and said, Jamaica, do you know Bob Marley? And I thought that was so wonderful. That's the power of music. And it made their day. I took their addresses, and when I came back to Edinburgh, I sent them Bob Marley memorabilia. And they therefore finally, you know, we are one humanity. And at the Heriot Watt, we call ourselves One Watt. One Watt means that we are not just one humanity, it's one education. It is about treating people the same and to make sure that we carry on the ethos of the Heriot Watt campus. Because the owner of Heriot Watt, the Gibson Craig family, Gibson Craig was an MP, and he wrote to his father, and I found a letter from 1838. And Gibson Craig told his father, I voted for abolition and I would do it again. And that's the kind of determination and conviction that we have at the Heriot Watt. We know what is right. We will do it, and we will do it again. Thank you.
Thank you, Geoff, for those words. If you're okay, if people want to ask any questions, I can field them to you. I think Pat has asked a question. I don't know if you want to ask it over the video, Pat, seeing as you're one of the exclusive few that has been allowed.
I think it was nice to call out Brewdog there, Geoff. We're always drinking. I always say Heriot Watt put the brew in Brewdog.
Okay.
My comment, and I don't know quite how I phrased it, if it comes across, but it's basically: is there anything the Watt Club should be doing to address these challenges? You know, I think a Heriot Watt degree, and I think you said this at the last. It doesn't really see race. You know, it's one Watt. You know, one race, one Watt race. And you know, I've had many years in the university teaching people from all cultures, and you know, top students come from everywhere in the world. You know, they don't come from one area. and I think that that's always been a very strong part. You know, an international business like oil and gas does try to work across all cultures without any fear or favor, basically. So I just wonder if there's anything that the What Club specifically might do in this respect.
Oh, thank you very much for that. And I'd like to say it's not just the Brewdog. I've got students all over the world who've come through the Heriot Watt before I get a whole host of letters.
I'm happy to promote all of them, Geoff. I mean,
right. But I think you're right. I think that what we could do, and because I had the nerve to say, don't take statues down, I've got myself, it has not stopped. I've had, you know, Bailey Gifford, you know, these large
yes.
finance companies. I've got Royal Bank of Scotland. I've had the Toronto government all contacting me as if I'm an expert on these things. I've had 200 businessmen in London asking my advice. The point is that what they're all asking is that what can we do, as you said, and what I said to them, you must have what you call equality outcomes, equality objectives and equality outcomes. Mm. And you can measure them. I'm not much of a mathematical scientist, but you cannot control or change what you can't measure. And therefore, what you do, you set those. And one thing that What could do is the What Club is to make sure that you put it out. You see, a lot of people don't realize it. You've got to put it out. If you have an issue, contact us. A lot of people think, oh, well, you know, everybody knows that, but they don't. The point is that you've got to have an equality statement. And in that statement, you say that if there are any issues that anybody has, they can contact you and you will try and resolve them in any way you can. And you'll be surprised, because that's a statement that you will help. And if you've never said that, then that should be said.
Yeah, I think the principal did put out a very strong statement to that effect a few years back, and it's interesting because I had some alumnus say they had never encountered racial issues within Heriot Watt, and therefore are we not just being woke? So I think, you know, you've got this issue sometimes when you put these messages out, they think that because you have to put the message out and it can backfire. So since I've become Chancellor, I've had one or two letters. and again, that's interesting, because I've had those probably because people think they're trusting my position and who I am, and that they know me as an activist, and that they probably believe I will be fair. And therefore, if one is saying that, and people are not saying that, it could be that people are concerned. And thus, the management of the What Club should be diverse. How diverse is it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because if it isn't, then people feel, well, how are you going to know about a Caribbean person or a Muslim person or somebody else from different parts of the world? So therefore, your strategy must be, you say, we're a diverse organization. We deal with all kinds of aspects, and if anything to do with equality, please contact us. And unless you have it from the thousands of students that are in the Heriot Watt, hearing it from 2 or 3, I can tell you I've had more than 2 or 3 since and the point is they've all been resolved. Mm-hmm. So put that out, and not from the principal, but from the organization, from yourselves. Yeah, and you're a good outcome, a very good outcome to have you as our Chancellor. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. It's a great honor. And anything I can do, I will help.
Thanks, Pat, and thanks, Geoff. I don't think we've had any formal questions that have come forward, but just to comment on what you're saying there, Geoff, I think I really like that idea in terms of actually just being clear in terms of that equality statement. And it's something that I know I've been reflecting of in terms of how do we make sure that a range of views, because we've got a very diverse community globally, how do we allow those views to filter up in the most effective way?
Because what I would say, I sometimes say, a diverse community needs diverse management to be fair and efficient.
Yeah.
And thus, your statement must try and reflect that diversity, within your management, if you can.
Yeah, yeah. And I suppose that also it's a good segue into some of the changes that we'll be discussing later on in the agenda in terms of actually some of the actions that we've recognised that we need to take in order to start enabling greater diversity in terms of within the What Club Council and some of the leadership positions that we have ownership of. So yeah, that's a journey that we'll continue down. And I know, and I've seen it through the comments that are coming through, that your role as Chancellor and being in that position is inspirational in terms of paving the path towards realising some of those outcomes. So what I'll do is I'll wrap up there unless there's anything more that you'd like to share.
No, thank you for the invitation. It was a great honor.
Yeah, it was lovely to have you come along and speak today. We've got a small gift for you. Normally we'd have a physical meeting. It's Shuggy Bain by our alumnus Douglas Stewart, the winner of the 2020 Booker Prize. We thought it'd be useful in case you don't have a copy already, as he's due to receive an honorary degree at the upcoming December graduation. So just in case you happen to be along there, you've got the book in case you want to have a quick glance through it. So we'll make sure.
If you give it to Catherine. If you give it to Catherine, she's got some posts for me. I'll come in and pick it up.
Oh, perfect. That's brilliant. So thanks very much, Geoff.
Okay. I can leave you now, can I?
Yeah, you can head off.
I don't want to get into trouble. Okay. Thank you very much, Mike. And I'll speak to you soon.
Yeah, thanks, Geoff.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So we'll move on to the more formal business of the AGM. You'll have seen myself, and for those I haven't met before, I'm president of the What Club, and also I'll be joined by a couple of people throughout the AGM. Pat, who's on video at the moment, as vice president, and Karen will also be helping out with the university update as part of the agenda today. So we'll introduce them as we get going through the items that we've got set out. And so let me just make sure I've got various bits and pieces up at the moment. So the first item that we've got to discuss is around sort of the minutes and the matters arising. What I'm going to do, I hope this works, is just drop a copy of the minutes into the chat. And hopefully you should just see a PDF pop up in there. So if you want to have a reference or a glance through those, you're more than welcome to. There's only one sort of matter arising that I want to cover off, and that's around the constitutional changes that we'd approved at the last meeting. And just to say that those are still going through that ratification process. They're on the draft agenda for the December meeting of the University Court to get formally approved. Part of the reason I'm mentioning that as well is we've got some other constitutional changes which we'll look to cover off later on in the agenda, and it's just to say that even though we haven't gone through the formal process for the changes that were approved last year, those don't have no impact on what we've putting forward this year. So it's just to flag that that's the case, and that will be coming. But we're expecting those to get approved in the not too distant future. So I don't know if anyone has any questions on the minutes. Feel free to type them into the chat. I haven't seen anything come through, so I'm just going to suggest, I'm hoping Gavin's in the background, we just have to do a quick poll just to make sure everyone's happy to approve those. I appreciate not everybody would have been at the last meeting that we had, but Gavin, if you're able to do the poll just now, that would be great. And we'll leave that open for a little bit. The things that I'll just talk through what we're going to cover off today. So I'll do a short update. I'll pass over to Karen, who's going to do an update on behalf of the university. Pat's going to give a quick update on some of the branch activity that's been going on and where the sort of state of play of that at the moment. I'll pick up and just talk you through the financial side of things and where that's currently sitting, and then we'll finish on a high with some constitutional changes that we're looking to get approved at the meeting as well, and then we'll finish up. So I'm expecting us to run quite smoothly and finish up before 8 o'clock. If you have any questions as we go, just type them into the chat, and we'll look to pick them off as we go as well. So Gavin, I don't know if you're able to show the results of the vote. We can see how awake people are as well. So we'll take the minutes as approved then, and we'll move on to the next item, which is just a short update from myself. So there's a couple of things I want to cover off. First off, I want to say, just to formally note, thanks to Zainab and Karen, who've been on the council for the last 3 years and whose term will finish up at the end of this year. It's been great having their input from Germany and Dubai, and just getting a different set of views that have come forward at the meeting. So I just want to formally note my thanks. A few other bits and pieces just to update on. So it's been quite challenging over the last kind of year and a half, particularly on doing graduations. So we're lucky that we're able to resume graduations starting next week, I believe, with Dubai, Malaysia, and then moving on to Edinburgh graduations. So I'm really excited to see those, and I know there'll be representation from the What Club at those, and as usual we get to present the What Club medal at those graduations. So that goes to the top student in a particular discipline. So that's great to see those kicking off again, and I know Gavin and Karen and the team have done a fantastic job to celebrate graduations virtually, but it's one of those things you can't beat in-person graduations, I don't think. The other aspect to talk to you about is around the annual fund. So each year what previously happened is there was a meeting of a group of various people to decide on the funding of various student projects, and what's been discussed and put in place over the last year is to roll that particular meeting that looked to disperse money from the annual fund into sort of a bigger disbursements group that will ultimately report into the university court, and we'll look at a number of pots of funding that have more discretionary allocation to them. And we'll also look at getting a bit better governance around activity that goes on in different areas of the university, and what funding's been allocated. And ultimately the broad aim of that is to bring a bit more strategic direction, and ultimately to have a bit more impact with all of the generous donations that have come in from a range of sources. So that group meets much more regularly. It's just getting started. It's got a very full agenda. I'm sure it's keeping Karen and the Alumni office busy in terms of helping to pull together all the various processes around that. But that I think has got off to a good start, and I'm excited to see how that will evolve going forward. And final thing that I'd like to mention as well is the earlier on in the year, Stefan Kay sadly passed away. So Stefan was previously president of the What Club. He was president of the Student Association back when the university gained its university charter as well, and has had a long history of involvement with the university. Earlier on in the year, I presented him with a Lifetime Achievement Award on behalf of the What Club, in recognition of I suppose the guiding light that he's shone throughout his career and throughout his engagement with the university. He's been involved in a range of areas outside of that, and towards the end of his career was involved with the Scottish Borders campus and the co-location with Scottish Borders College and all of the work that went on there. So I just wanted to highlight that had happened, and just to share that we'd sought to recognise Stefan, and I know he was appreciative of that before he passed away. So I don't have anything more to update on now, Pat. I don't know if there's anything you want to chip in or highlight.
I think that's fine. I think Karen's going to come up with a report.
Yeah.
We'll come in later.
Yeah. So I'll pass over to you now, Karen. I'm hoping Gavin works his magic, gets you on audio. And what I'll do is I'll share your report with people that you're going to run through. I think you've got various links in there.
Okay. Hi, Mike. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, great. Good. Excellent. Okay. Brilliant. Okay. Now I'm just hoping everybody can see me as well. Can you? It's Zoom is tricky. I'm used to Teams. Okay, so hi everybody. I'm Karen Kirkpatrick. Many of you know me probably. Actually, I can't really tell who's on the call here, but some of you will have seen me last year, and some of you will work with me at the university or sort of through council. I'm the head of the Development and Alumni Office, and I have been for the last couple of years. And I'm going to give you, I've got a short sort of update that Mike is sharing, but I'll just run through a few things on behalf of the university and of the Development Alumni Office as well. So first I want to say thank you to Mike and Pat and to the rest of council as well. Thank you all for all of your hard work over the last year, especially. We love working with you all here in the office, and it's not been the easiest of years, and I do distinctly remember saying that last year as well. So I think, you know, congratulations to all of us. We've made it through another year. It's not been easy, and it was delightful to see Sir Geoff Palmer as well on the call, and not only on the call but sort of anointed as our new Chancellor recently. We were all delighted with that also. Really proud of what that does say about us as a university and about where we're going in the future as well. So I also want to thank our team in the Development Alumni Office. They've been working very hard. Gavin, you can't see his face, but I'm sure you can see his name up there in the corner. And also thank you to all of you, our fantastic alumni community. I mean, I think, so Geoff talked about the One What community, and that is, again, something that we're really, really proud of. We kind of want to try and celebrate you in lots of different ways and profile all the fantastic things you're doing out there across the globe. One of the ways that we've done that this year is through our What a Legend campaign, where we ask for nominations from all of our communities. Oh, there's Gavin. I can see his face now. The What a Legend campaign, we asked for nominations from everybody that was all of our alumni, all of our staff, everyone that was in contact with us. And throughout the year, we did I think a really significant thing in sharing all of those nominations and trying to kind of shine a bit of a light on the variety and diversity of things that you're all out there doing. And that was really a fantastic thing. In terms of the university, I think I would say you've all had probably quite a good amount of information and updates from us over the course of the year through our e-newsletters, through our social media, if you're connected to us there, through LinkedIn, and most importantly, today you'll have had, I believe, Gavin, I think you might be nodding there, you'll have had the What Club magazine, the latest edition, our very special bicentennial edition of the What Club magazine in your email inbox today. So that's something that we work very, very hard on, and is really the way that we want to highlight and showcase, I suppose, what the university has been up to over the course of the last year. So if you have a look at that, you'll find some really fantastic articles if you haven't seen that already. So yeah, I suppose it has been quite a year in all sorts of different ways, and some of the highlights that you will be able to read about in the What Club magazine, or you will have seen if you joined our global gathering event a few weeks ago. Things like all of our campuses are open for business across the globe. We're doing face-to-face teaching again, which has been very exciting. We're also doing online teaching, so there's clearly a sort of a blended approach happening, which is I think being received quite well and going fairly well, across the board. But it's really great to see students back in the halls. We ourselves are not back full-time in the office, but we are back, we're in and out and around quite a bit. And it's just been, it's been lovely actually to see so many students just back in the halls, excited about learning. I was at one of the open days for Max last Saturday, and there was a steady stream of people coming through the doors from all across the UK actually, who'd come to visit the campus and look around and see if Heriot is for them. So that was quite exciting as well. We've seen really strong bounce back in recruitment, which I think is pleasing to everybody, and that's kind of across the board as well. The university, I think, has done a lot of work and is still going through a lot of change over, we've gone through a lot of work in the last year and a half, and we're still going through changes that partly because of circumstances, and I think partly because of the kind of change improvements that have been going on for the last couple of years. So there's a lot of work going into making sure that we're able to flex, that we're able to be agile, that we are in a strong financial position, and that we're very, very sort of strong and stable, and that's been I think not easy at times, but very, very necessary, and is putting us in a really good position to move forward. So I would say those are some of the key things that have been going on. And of course it's our bicentennial year 2021 as well, and I'm looking at Pat up in the corner of my in the corner of my screen there, because we've been doing a lot of different kinds of celebrating this year, and one of the really key moments for the university was in October, where we had quite a lot of things going on over the course of one weekend. That weekend was the 15th, 16th of October, and that was the 200th anniversary of the first ever lecture of the kind of institution as it was then and as it has evolved over the years. And Pat played a very key role for us on that day. We had celebrations and kind of exhibitions and tours and things at St. Cecilia's Hall in the very heart of Edinburgh, which was where the first ever lecture took place. And Pat did a fantastic job with colleagues as well in taking groups of people on heritage tours around all of the kind of hotspots of Edinburgh that mark our foundation. So thank you, Pat, and that was a fantastic day and a fantastic weekend actually. Other things that were going on across that weekend were the Worldwide Mechanics Institute conference, which Gavin kind of chaired and helped put together with Pat as well. And also we had a bicentennial dinner on campus, and we had our global gathering, which some of you may have attended, which was a really fantastic interactive online sort of showcase networking event for our alumni community. There is more to come next year, and we're going to kind of wrap up our extended bicentennial year over the summer, hopefully around graduations, and we're still kind of working out the detail of what we're able to do, not only in Edinburgh but for our alumni community and our other stakeholders across the globe. So there's more to come, and that's a big TBC, and keep an eye on your inbox for that. Let me just consult my notes for the things that I need to have a little look through. There's other stuff happening at the moment as well. We're obviously, not obviously, but there is the World Expo happening in Dubai at the moment, of which Heriot Watt is playing a significant role. We are one of the sponsors of the UK Pavilion. We have a team of students out there that are in the solar decathlon competition for smart and sustainable construction. So there's quite a lot happening actually, which is really great. And of course, we're very excited about our first face-to-face graduations coming up very soon. So I think the whole team and the whole university, in fact, are looking forward to seeing our students graduate and being able to kind of celebrate with them in person. So I guess that's a bit of a sort of a very fast, quick run through the highlights of the year, I think, for the university, certainly from our perspective. And I think as we start to talk a little bit more, just very briefly about the work of the Development and Alumni Office, the alumni team, I want to first ask Gavin if he will play a really short video that we included in the global gathering event we did a few weeks ago. That's just a little bit of a roundup of some of the activity that the alumni team have been delivering this year. So thanks, Gavin.
Alumni Engagement Officer for Heriot Watt University. This past year, we moved our events programme online, which enabled us to bring our annual programme of Watt Club events and talks to you virtually, connecting with you, our amazing Watt Club members, colleagues and friends from all over the world. As we celebrate our 200th year as a global groundbreaking university, we have hosted an extra special series of events featuring an incredible mixture of our most recent graduates and notable alumni alike, including our first host today, the wonderful Professor Sheila Mary Carruthers. These fascinating speakers have ranged from the world of fashion to award-winning authors. We hope you managed to watch some of these, either live or as a recording. But if not, please remember you can access all our past events on our YouTube channel. Here are a few highlights from some of our recent events, with our amazing alumni speakers giving their top advice to our Watt Club community.
If it was me, and the way the world's going, I would be making 10, and I would be sending it to my 10 top places that I wanted to work, with a note saying, this is what I do, I'd love to work for you, I could bring value here. I would also be really smart and have a copyright on your design, because too many students get caught out with designers nabbing their designs. Making it, no one would be offended because it's just smart. From the offset, you're saying this is my design. And make sure that your social media is up and running, because the first thing that you do now when you go to a CV is you don't actually look down at what's the Instagram tag, and you look at it and you go through their feed.
Yeah.
And if they look like idiots, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And it's very true, because it should reflect who you are as a person, and Instagram is like your own magazine, so you can create it. So you don't need to be in Vogue anymore. This is your, like, this thing here is the biggest platform you could ever have, the biggest voice for any student.
When you do have passion and you really shows through in an interview, and you can be personable because you're not lying, you really do want the job, and they know that, and they want someone who's going to come in with the right mindset. Sometimes mindset, I think, is more than experience, because you can have someone who's experienced, but you can just tell that they just want the money. That's all they want money, and then they want to do their thing outside of work. Mm-hmm. But yeah, when you show drive and determination to succeed, that definitely shows through.
There's a thing we call it Unpreneur about the three big blockers that really stop people starting a business before they even get going, and they are lack of experience, no business idea, and lack of money. There are other reasons too, but those are the big three that stop people from actually getting going, and all three of them can easily be overcome. I'm really passionate about this question in particular, because so many dreams, so many business ideas are killed in the very kind of embryonic state before they even get going, because of these three big blockers.
It's so important to get a mentor, a person who believes in you. And they're not believing in the fact that you're just doing great things, but they're believing in you based on your character and the traits that you present, and that you are, what you have embodies who they are as well. And they will guide you. And it's not always about how you're going to do well in the workplace. It's also about personal, who you are and what do you stand for. Because as much as people want to talk about, I'm a certain title in a company, an organization, I'm an SVP, VP, or so forth, it means nothing to anybody if you don't have the characteristics to back it up.
That was fascinating. I really enjoyed being part of some of those. Hearing real-world experience from our graduates is invaluable. Please do tell us what kind of events you would like to see. For future online events, you can register and watch live, or watch the recordings on our YouTube channel. Keep your contact preferences updated so that we can send you details of all our exciting new events. Visit the Tell Us About You page of the Network and Connect section of the alumni pages of our website. You can also join our What Club LinkedIn group, which has almost 19,000 members, or email us at what.club@hw.ac.uk.
Great, thank you, Gavin. That was fantastic. We did produce that little video just to for our global gathering event to kind of just remind people, I think, and show everybody the kinds of stuff that we're trying to do for the different segments of our alumni community. So there's a whole range of things that we've been we've been working hard on, and mostly online, because that's how we've had to. The downside of that is that you miss out on the kind of the face-to-face benefits of seeing people and meeting people. But the upside of that is that these things are more accessible to more of our community, and we've got 143,000 of you now in more than 190 countries. So it's there's a lot of you out there, and we want to try and do our best to give you what you're looking for, and to help build on the sort of strong foundations of your education at Heriot Watt and what you've done with it after you've left us, I suppose. In that vein, one of the things that we're doing, some of you will remember, we did a really comprehensive alumni survey about 2 and a bit years ago, and we are going to be doing that again in, I think, about February, actually. And it's really, really important to us, and we're consulting council on what goes into that, so that we are making sure that we've got a really good, robust way of asking you, what do you need? What do you want? We are here to serve you. And I think, things have changed quite significantly since we last asked you these questions. And so it's a really good time to be doing that again, because that will really inform how we work with council. And we've been having really great discussions over the last year about, you know, what is the future of the work that we do together, and you know, what is the purpose of the work that we do? What is it that we can help, we as a university can continue to connect with you on, to provide you, to help help you kind of progress through your life and through your career. So it's really important to us, and that's something that we're going to be doing in the new year. And I think, you know, we're just working hard here to try and make sure that you know, when we engage with you directly, or when we engage with you through council, that that we're making the best use of the resource that we have, and that we're able to serve you as best as we can. Obviously, our work within the university means that we need to make sure that we are helping achieve the university's objectives as well. But that's something I think we really see ourselves as kind of brokers of those two things. So I just want to say, I guess we've made it through another year, and there's a lot to look forward to. And I think it's a really exciting time to be thinking about, you know, what we do together in the future. And I hope to see some of you in person very, very soon. And I think that's me, Mike. Thank you. If anyone has any questions, of course, I'll be here to answer them.
Thanks very much for that update, Karen. I haven't seen any questions come through. I suppose I have one question it would be good to ask, just following on from what you're saying about how you've had to respond to COVID and move to online, is how you see the next couple of years looking in terms of engagement. Is it back to how things operated before, or is there a different kind of mantra where we're either all online still, or a more blended approach, or what?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really interesting question, Mike, and I think actually, you know, I don't think any of us have fixed in our minds exactly what it should be, and I think that's why the survey and any contributions or feedback that we can get is really important, because we can't go back to the ye olden times, because, you know, it's you know, we've had 2 years of change, and I don't think we can go back to so heavily focusing on small physical events, or you know, we can't exclusively focus on one or the other. I would say it has to be blended going forward. And so I think, you know, we're just trying to figure out what makes the most sense. I suppose it has to be both. You know, we're planning to go to Tartan Day in New York, where we have a really good alumni base in April. We're hoping to be able to do that. We've got a very strong branch in Texas, in Houston as well, and we would love to go and host an event there when the principal's next out there as well. We've got an event planned in Norway in March. But we're also thinking about, well, what does the next year look like? We've had a lot of interest in what the university is doing around research, for example. So, you know, Gavin and I and the team are starting to think about, well, you know, what do people want to hear about? Which areas of research do people want to hear about? There will be alums that are in particular industries or particular roles within sectors or companies that want to engage or partner with the university around those. So I think it can't go back. So the point that we're at is, what is the best, what do you want? Mm-hmm. What does the university need? And how do we best kind of blend our way of working to achieve that? And I think that's where our discussions with you and with council are really, really key as well. And we have to make the most of the resource we have available to us.
Yeah.
Gavin, is there anything you wanted to add on that?
I don't think so, Karen. Thank you. No, I think it's been fascinating the last couple of years putting events on in this format, and I think we've all got used to it. And I think there's maybe members of the community that have had enough Zoom calls, to be honest, especially at 6:30 at night. So I totally appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, I think people, and I'm really keen to see the results of the survey to see what people want, and I think that has to drive what we're going to do. And but yeah, I mean, having done this job long enough now, I can't wait to get back out and see alumni face to face again. That's what we're here to do, and we definitely as a team, we've missed doing that. So graduation is the first step next Saturday, starting that, and our colleague Catherine in Dubai is going to start that tomorrow. So she's the lucky one because she gets to do it first, and then we're looking forward to doing that as well.
Yeah, I would wholeheartedly agree with all of that. Absolutely. And I should say as well, you don't need to wait until we do a survey in February to tell us what you think. Please fire it in the chat or send it to what.club@hw.ac.uk. We are absolutely always delighted to hear straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak.
Yep. Excellent. Thanks very much, Karen, for doing the update. I'll move on to the other items that we've got to discuss and get through them hopefully at a good pace. Thanks very much, Karen.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
So the next two items that we've got are around the accounts for last year and the budget that we've set out for the year going forward. So I've just...
You want the report first, Mike? Do you want the...
Oh, sorry about that, Pat.
Right.
I'll hand over to Pat just to give a quick...
And I'll hand back to Mike in a...
activity.
I'll hand back to Mike in a few minutes. Yes, just to give an activity report on the branches. Now, in advance, I apologize if we don't have any information on your particular branch and you're aware of something that we're not aware of. But so we have had some reports back in from some of you. Clearly, Norway is always the most active, I think, of our activities. And in fact, their report starts with a meeting that happened the day before Norway was locked down due to COVID a long time ago in March 2020. But they did have a first physical meeting in October where they had the launch of the new James Bond film, which is, I don't think there's any Herrick Watt connection. Probably there's a graduate or two in there somewhere. But that was held, and out of 80 people attended that, about a third were Herrick Watt alumni. So that's with the British Norwegian Chamber of Commerce. So we got a very active group there, and Karen has already mentioned an upcoming event in March. Now, Singapore, we did pass some funding to Singapore for events, and they have had events, but they sent such a full report that we haven't been able to sort of summarize it down and give you a verbal update. But so if anybody's from Singapore out there, I apologize for that. It's partly because Gregor is away tonight and we haven't quite extracted this from his email box. But we do appreciate that Singapore has been quite active. Toronto should please Geoff. We had a virtual event organized by Gavin around advancing diversity and inclusion. I think that's what D&I means, but advancing D&I throughout the pandemic. So that was something that Gavin helped Toronto. Nigeria, quiet year, COVID, like everything, not much activity, but they are looking to appoint a new executive committee for the branch in 2022. So if you're in Nigeria and you want to get involved, then we can help you get in touch with the right people. San Francisco, no change. London, not much to report. Their intention is to reach out to the southeast of England, I guess that is, although southeast of Scotland would also be invited, I'm sure, to see events in 2022, perhaps also getting back to having an annual dinner. I think the dinners are what people have missed over the last year. Luckily with brewing and distilling, now we have a Chancellor who's probably a member of the Brewing and Distilling alumni activity. They are hosting a weekend in February, and they're trying to organize an event, which I suggest, I imagine that Geoff would be invited to, and perhaps that would be something for them to get together. They are a most together group of people within the alumni that we have. We did create this staff branch, and I don't know if there's Phil Johns out there on the call, but we also should try and think about some activity around that next year. So I think the overall message is everybody's thinking, as Karen has said, how to have events, what kind of events, how many more talks you want at 6:30 at night. What you really want to do is to get back and talk to people. So maybe that's the focus for the next year that we'd all be involved in. And we all have an excuse why we didn't do enough last year, but we did have a very good 200th anniversary celebration. So we look forward to the next 100 years. And that's back to you, Mike.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for that update, Pat. So get troopering on with the financial side of things. So I've dropped the papers just into the chat. If you want to reference them, I think Gavin shared a slide, or will share a slide in a moment, that just has a summary of the account side of things. So as some of you will be aware, we get £15,000 a year that gets allocated on various things. There's not a huge amount of change year on year in terms of the buckets we allocate to. The one thing just to flag is there was an underspend of around about £3,500, and that was mainly due to not proceeding with the summer internships that we looked to do, and we've agreed to accrue that funding over into this financial year. So we'll look at how best we progress that over the coming months. I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone might have on the accounts. I can't see anything that's coming forward, so I'm just going to suggest we move to having a vote and an approval on those accounts, if that's okay, Gavin, just to bring that up. And I suppose just take a moment now, and whilst that voting's going on, just to say thanks to Gregor, who's wasn't able to be here tonight, just for all his work in terms of preparing the papers and working with Gavin and the team just to make sure all the communications were going out in a timely manner. So that's been hugely appreciated, I know. So I'm stepping in for Gregor in a number of areas tonight, in case you have any questions about that. So I don't know, Gavin, if it's a good time just to share the results of that poll. So yeah, again, those are approved. We'll move on to the next item, which is basically the budget that we're working towards in this financial year. I think a couple of things we'll cover on the constitutional side, but really what we've tried to do here, and this is a theme that first off, we looked at trying to reduce costs of elections. I think that will carry forward, and it ties in with some of the constitutional changes that we're proposing, is just looking at how we better spend that money that we have available, and the impact that we can have with that. So quite similar to last year in terms of what we've got allocated, we'll continue to look at work around internships. I'd say that there might be kind of a broader base to that, so it's not just about interns per se, but it's looking at funding kind of more kind of project or discrete pieces of work that might be best facilitated through an internship. There might be other means that we can do that. So there's an allocation of funding that we've put aside for that, along with funding that we've sort of set aside for activity around the university's bicentenary, as well as a pot of money around What Club development. So I suppose to anyone on the call, if there's ideas that you have and could use a bit of funding to prime them, then always sort of encourage people to sort of reach out, and always happy to jump on a call if people have ideas of things that they think would add value and just need a bit of funding, either an event or something else. Happy to have a discussion about those, and we've got pots of money available that we can think about where there might be opportunities to do that. But again, I don't think there's anything too controversial in here, but I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has any questions. Can't see anything coming forward, but we'll just go to a vote on that. There we go. I didn't prepare in advance sort of interludes whilst the voting windows were up. Running out of small talk here.
I see that the host and the panelists can't vote, so we can't vote, just in case anybody thinks we're behind the scenes manipulating the vote here.
Gavin, I assume you can see if people have voted or not, and
yeah, I
when's
can,
the right time to,
I think I'll
to wrap that up.
Call that, okay?
Okay. Perfect, thank you. So we'll move on. Let me just drop a copy of this in so you've got a note of it. The constitutional changes side of things. So for me, this is really the culmination of, I suppose, a lot of reflection and recognition, and looking at the membership of council and how that's made up, and sort of starting to think through, are we reflective of that kind of global alumni community? And there's areas where we've got a lot of strength, but there's also areas where we've got a lot more work to do. For me, we've made some really good inroads there. Diarmuid, who's on council, as well as looked at various different things in terms of how we better encourage diversity in terms of the membership of council, and ultimately the views that are coming forward. So for me, the changes that we're proposing to make in the constitution are really to help drive that home in a more effective way. So broadly speaking, and the big bulk of the changes that we're looking to make are, at the moment we have a number of people on council. 3 of those we can co-opt, and we have an appointments process that we co-opt people. 6 of those are elected, and we do 2 a year. And for all those positions, it's on a 3-year term. What we're proposing is just to flip that the other way around. And the benefits of that are first off, we reduce election costs. Elections during my time, I think the highest was when I ran for president, and that was still less than 5% in terms of turnout. So again, it's not got great engagement in terms of those elections. And I think in some ways, elections can be discouraging for people to run for the positions. So there's a money saving angle to this, which is allows us to put money into other areas. And the other bit that's more important is around that sort of diversity angle. So it's around us figuring out how and taking more control and ownership of it as council, and figuring out, okay, how do we get a more representative makeup? How do we target the right skill sets of people that we want to get involved, and get a much more diverse range of views represented? So really the changes are really seeking to help and give us another tool in our arsenal to realize those outcomes. And yeah, I suppose one area again that's feeding into the evidence around that was the recent appointment to of an alumni member to the university court, and the elections had something like 4 or 5 candidates come forward for 2 positions, whereas the university court position with an appointments-based process in place had just under 70 candidates come forward, and arguably it's a much more detailed application process in comparison to elections. So for me, again, that just adding to that body of evidence that we actually can get a lot better engagement through an appointments process. We're not getting rid of elections completely. We'll still have elected positions, because again, that's a means of getting a different set of inputs into council. but we're just reducing that down and looking more at co-option. If you want to, Gavin, I don't know if the slide's up at the moment. I'm tracking too many things on my screen.
It is, Mike. Yeah.
So really, the changes are just the bits of the constitution that we need to change to be able to reflect that. I'm happy to answer any questions on that. I think there isn't any questions. I don't know, Pat, if there's anything you want to add there. So I think we'll move to a vote on that if there's no questions coming forward.
Constitutional matters are important, but they're not very exciting, but we need to do them, you know. And certainly if we can cut down the costs and look to get in the diversity, it's quite a challenge for the What Club to get diversity in an effective number of people that can cover the globe and cover all the different angles. Anybody out there that wants to join in, they should put themselves forward.
I think Cameron's just pulling together a question quickly.
Yeah.
Thanks to Phil for his comments.
Yeah.
I'll close the poll though, shall I anyway? Is that okay?
Close the poll. I'll let Cameron come forward with his question, and then we can go from there. I'm assuming Cameron's typing way in the background. I hope, Cameron, I hope you can type under pressure. So what might, depending on the question that Cameron's coming forward, we may look to redo the poll. Depends on the topic. Yep.
Can you not make Kevin speak? Oh, can you not make Cameron? Oh, right.
So Cameron's just asking us, how do we get council members to be active? We always feels that we have some sleepy ones. I don't think beyond what's already in the constitution, of if we don't have any contact from people for, I think it's 2 or 3 meetings, we take that as them effectively vacating their post. Beyond that, I don't think we have anything constitutionally that addresses that. I think there's a really important role that I and others on council have to play in terms of helping to facilitate council members being able to engage in the pieces of work that they want to take forward. I think we've got better at that. There's been some fantastic examples across council. I think there's still more that work that we could do, but I think it's in a better place than I've ever seen it. I don't think it's by any means perfect. I think there's still more to do, but ultimately it's just trying to connect people in the right way and actually say to people, look, you're in this position as an opportunity that we can help to facilitate your engagement into the university and what are the types of things that you ultimately want to take forward. So it's getting better. But yeah, you're right. There's still some people that we struggle to get input from. Yeah.
Can I comment too? I mean, Cameron, I think most people that we have, with well intention to actually get in active, but it's not as if there is things that they can get active in all the time. So it's whether they're in their area, they give advice that they can think about. It's not like a court role where they are asked to contribute all the time. But I think I think from the little clip that Gavin said, I think most of them will be well spent getting their Instagram up to speed rather than worrying about being on one of our What Club committees. But the point is taken. I think most people are trying to help the university. It's a voluntary. Perhaps they look for the university to ask them more often for help.
Yeah. And I suppose just on that theme, it's something that we're doing a lot of thinking around as I have one and a bit more years left of my presidency and thinking about succession planning. And actually coming back to that question that we seem to circle around quite a lot is how does the What Club and the What Club Council fit together and feed in and join up with the university, and ultimately what will the next president and what will the direction of travel be there. So yeah, I think Cameron, you're saying around expectations when council members join. Absolutely. I think we've been raising the expectations slowly. The challenge is just making sure that there's the opportunities there to connect people up with. There's always been a bit of a challenge. But hopefully there'll be more coming down the line, and we'll get better at that. So we're nearly at time. There's a little bit of time left. Gavin's just highlighted, if we can mention the appeal that's going on at the moment. Karen, I don't know if you're best placed just to talk to that quickly. I think there's a link within the update that you provided that people can go to. Gavin, I'm not sure if you want to share that within the chat, and Karen, if you're able to talk about it for a moment, if that's okay.
Yeah. I just wanted to say, I did mention in my report that one of the things that one of the big endeavours the Development and Alumni Office are undertaking this year, it's the development side of things, primarily the fundraising team. And it really links back to what Sir Geoff was talking about at the very beginning here. As a university, we recognise there's a lot of different kinds of need across our student base and prospective students as well, to make sure that we can continue on our very proud heritage of being an education institution that really does pioneer access to education. So we launched earlier this year the 1821 appeal, which is a big fundraising endeavour to raise money for at present, eight different kinds of projects with a range of needs. And it's going very, very well. We have a very ambitious target of £4 million over 18 months up until April next year. And we're over 75% of the way there in raising the funds for that. But I just wanted to kind of highlight that is a really big part of what the department is doing, and it's really important to us and important to the university. Cameron, in fact, is on the appeal board, as is Sir Geoff, and a range of other people. So I think I've shared the link in the report, but I'll share the link to the page where you can find out more about the appeal, and you can find out more about the projects that we're specifically fundraising for. Many alumni have donated over the course of the year, and we're very, very grateful for that. So just wanted to share that and to say that that's a really important piece of work to us, and it's a really important it's a really important kind of progression, I suppose, that as a university we are trying to have the funds to make sure that we can continue to pioneer access to education. There's a really lovely video, I think, on that page as well, with some comments from students that have already been supported in different ways through scholarships, bursaries, and other things over the course of the last few years. So please support that if you can, and at least give it a look and see what we're trying to do in this area. But I did want to mention that, and thank you very much.
Oh, thanks, Karen. And Gavin's just popped the link into the chat there, if people want to see any more information. Anna's just come back with a question, which is directed at me, I assume, and it's: Are you killing the local What Club branch associations completely? So I think no is the black and white answer to that. I think what we still have a lot of work to do. So branches are only one way in which people engage. I think if I look back 4 or 5 years ago, it was almost branches or nothing. I think we have to mature and evolve into something slightly different that recognizes that branches might be the right vehicle in some respects, but again, there's people that just want to dip in. They might want to organize an event and pull people together, but they don't want to necessarily have all of the formality that can sometimes sit around having a branch set up. So yeah, short answer is no, but yeah, it's definitely an ongoing discussion in terms of how we engage as effectively as possible with the resources that we have. So Karen, you've got your hand up. Physically got your hand up.
I've got an actual hand up. No, I would just say from our perspective, I 100% agree with you, Mike. And no, we don't want to stop doing work to support our branches. I guess the challenge is, and over the course of the last sort of 4 years or so, we've really been thinking about this, and COVID and the circumstances that have occurred over the last year and a half have really given us pause for thought. And you know, the challenges are, we have such a huge number of alumni in such diverse kind of locations across the world that geographically based branches can't be the only focus for either council or for the team, for our team. So we've been having to think really deeply about, well, how do we support engagement, and especially face-to-face engagement, you know, and networking between you all yourselves, to provide support and all the other sort of good stuff that you get from face-to-face, you know, seeing people and working with people. And we've been talking about, you know, people wanting to talk to others in their sector, network with others in the industry they're in, perhaps at the level that they're at, you know, all of this sort of stuff. So I just wanted to chime in and say, absolutely not, we're not abandoning branches at all. They're still really important. But the reality is that we have to find a way to balance those very big challenges that we find ourselves in. I think the other factor, and there's no resolution to this as yet, is that, you know, we have a changing demographic in terms of the makeup of the alumni community as we kind of you know, as we you know, as more of our graduates have grown up in a slightly different world and a different way of engaging and interacting online and otherwise, you know, we have to consider that as well. So just to, I suppose, yeah, we haven't arrived at any particular resolution, but we definitely absolutely will still want to be supporting branches and continuing that work.
Thanks, Karen. So and I hope that's answered the question, but if not, feel free to reach out. Can perhaps have a bit more detailed discussion around it. So we're just past 8 o'clock. I need to get my dinner. I'm sure others have lots of other things on. I'll just finish by saying thank you very much to everyone for joining today. It's been really good to share some of the work that's been going on, and really good to have some discussion around that. Really great to hear from Geoff as well. As a new Chancellor, I hope you've enjoyed the evening. You got a bit more insight around what's going on, and the door is always open if you do have any thoughts or ideas going forward, and by all means share. So with that, I'll say goodbye. Have a lovely afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you are. That's it. Done.
Thanks, everybody. Bye now.
Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank
See you.
Bye.
Yes, thanks, Mike. Good job. Cheers. Bye.